So the Forex market is a market where currencies are bought and sold. So like the dollar is exchanged for the euro. I think that's how the euro looks. It's all about exchange rates, which is how much of one currency you need to buy another. Here's a graph of the Forex market. So we have the exchange rate. And here we have the price, or not the price, I mean the quantity. Let's just say this is a market for USD. So this is going to be the quantity of USD. Here we have the supply, and here we have the demand. So the demand for a currency comes from foreigners who want to buy the country's goods. So this is going to be foreigners. And the supply of a currency comes from domestic residents who want to buy foreign goods, services, or assets. So say Europeans want to visit Japan, they demand the Japanese yen and they supply euros. Shifters of currency demand in a Forex market. So shifters of demand can include shifters of demand. It can include things like tastes and preferences. Relative incomes, which just means like if there's more income, then you have more imports. And if there's more imports, that means there's a higher demand for foreign currency. Relative interest rates. Higher interest rates attract more capital, and which means there's a higher demand. And then inflation and price level. Inflation and price level is that people prefer to buy from countries that have lower inflation. So these are basic for shifters of demand. So suppose Japan attracts an increased amount of foreign funds from the European Union because people want to travel there. Using a correctly labeled graph of the Forex market in Japan showed the effect of an increase in foreign funds on the real estate market in Japan. So suppose more people in the EU want to travel to Japan. So they're going to need to buy yen, so if this is a market for yen, then there's the demand for yen is going to increase. All right, demand. The demand curve is going to shift to the right, which if you look at it, is going to increase the quantity as well as the exchange rate, which means that the value of the yen is going to appreciate or increase. This will also affect the Japanese economy, which means that more foreign spending is going to increase aggregate demand and even raise the real interest rate. Suppose a different situation where the real interest rate in Canada increases relative to Mexico. So using a correctly labeled graph of the Forex market for the Canadian dollar, show the effect of the change in the real interest rate in Canada on the value of the Canadian dollar. So let's draw another Forex graph here. So exchange rate, quantity, and this is me the market for CAD Canadian dollar. So if we think that the real interest rate is going to increase compared to Mexico, it's going to make Canadian assets more attractive to investors because investors want a higher interest rate. So more people are going to want to buy Canadian dollars, which means the demand for Canadian dollars is going to increase. The demand curve for the Canadian dollar is going to shift to the right, which means it's going to appreciate in value. So Canadian dollar appreciate. The capital inflow is driven by the interest rate. So suppose price levels in the United States rise faster than they do in China. Using a correctly labeled graph of the Forex market of the Chinese yuan, show the effect of the change in price levels in the US on the value of the Chinese yuan. So if we draw another graph here. Market for yuan. So if the price levels in So if the price levels in the US rise faster than China, US goods become relatively more expensive. So Americans and others will start buying cheaper Chinese goods. This means that more people will demand the Chinese yuan to pay for those goods, which means the demand curve will shift to the right. Because more people want to buy Chinese goods. The yuan will appreciate while the US dollar depreciates. So this is an example of how relative inflation affects currency value. There's going to be a lower demand for the USD.